afternoon, South Africa, and a very warm welcome to you. I'm Jeannie D.
And I'm Bonnie Booty. Welcome to the middle of the week, and today we have a very inspiring show packed for you today. And we're joined by two very incredible South African talents.
The first one is an absolutely astonishing actor, Hykie Berg, who's been very busy in 2015, starring in no less than 4 separate feature films.
In 1 year.
In one year. But as much as we would love to chat to him about all of his achievements, he's here today to help us tackle a very serious issue in South Africa, and one that has plagued him personally. It's drug addiction.
Yeah, today we'll be focusing on the positive aspect of it, and that's overcoming drug addiction. And remember, we're live, so if you have any inspiring and encouraging stories of your own to share with us, don't hesitate to call us on 083 913 3728. And of course, it's summer, and we're trying to get bikini body ready, so stick around for some tips that we share with you.
Daniela's in the kitchen. Hey.
If you're wanting that bikini body, today's show is not going to help you. I'll tell you why later on. Is what we're making in the kitchen is not going to help with that. Good afternoon, South Africa. I'm Daniela Question. Welcome to Afternoon Express. It's so good to be back with you guys this afternoon. Standing next to me right here, well, sitting next to me, Mobi Dixon. I think your mother got it right, because every producer that's been successful, his name has been Moby, right? Moby just knows how to make music. So does this man. But we're not here to talk to you today about your music, actually. We're also going to be focusing on your challenges and how you overcame your drug and alcohol addictions, which I'm really, really proud of you for. So thank you so much for joining us in the loft today.
It's a pleasure.
And you, South Africa, can stay tuned for that. Joining me in the kitchen today is my friend and colleague, Mr. Clement from Taste Magazine. Now, Clem, we're making something that's not going to help those ladies with their dresses say. What is it?
Absolutely not, but I'm feeding the soul, and that's just much more important.
And they came from our ribs, so we might as well...
Exactly, yes. We're doing soulful, sweet, sticky barbecue pork belly ribs. We're not even doing just the ribs, we're doing the pork belly as well, all together in one.
Oh, it sounds so delicious.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's the absolute staple for any kind of braai. So make sure you guys head over to our website, afternoonexpress.co.za. That's where you can find our recipe. The shopping list is also available for you over there. And as Bonnie did say, if you have any inspiring stories you want to share with us in the loft today, make sure you go and share those on our social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you can find us. Joining us on the couch right now is our first guest with Bonnie.
He has become one of South Africa's best-loved actors, and this year alone, he stars in no less than 4 feature films, including Dis Ek Anna, Mooi Rivier, and Verskietende Ster. But less known to many of his fans, he has been through incredible hardship and overcome an addiction to drugs. Joining us on the couch to share his lovely story is Hykie Berg. Hello, Hykie.
Just long lost friend.
I know, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Hykie and I met on Survivor, and we were alliance partners, and our alliance came out tops, and we made it to the top 3 together. And then you ended up winning Survivor.
Yeah, I know, it was wonderful, but I always tell people that if you go on a show like this, you need one person that you trust 100%. Absolutely 100%. And it was you.
And me, you.
Yeah, I know that. So it's wonderful to see you and to be here, and thank you Espresso, and thank you everybody and stuff. It's wonderful,
Awesome. Lovely to have you.
Yeah, I've had a good year.
You've had a good year. You're in 4 films. Dis Ek Anna, Mooi Rivier, Verskietende Ster.
Yeah, Verskietende Ster is going to... the premiere will be next year, March.
Okay.
Dis Ek Anna at the moment is showing right now, and it's doing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And I think it's an era for filmmakers like Neil and them was to actually really tackle issues that very few people really want to speak about.
Quite tough storylines.
Very tough storylines, and at the moment,
very meaty.
Yeah, there was an era of toilet humor, you know, and then
the rom-coms,
and then the rom-coms, and all of a sudden something like Dis Ek Anna, and it's doing so incredibly well. And Verskietende Ster, Shooting Star, which is directed by Daryl Root, which was lovely working with him.
We love Daryl.
Yeah, so that's also a very, very hard issues of fathers and families that don't allow their children to become what they really, really want to become. You know? They suppress the children, and you know.
And you're no stranger to our screens. Where did your acting journey begin?
It started, funnily enough, when I was 21 years old and I went to my first treatment facility for heroin addiction. Obviously, addiction it doesn't matter what drug it is. It just ended up manifest.
So you had not acted before you ended up in a treatment facility?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I went to the treatment facility, and I watched this program when I was turking from this frequency, and it was horrific. And I saw the Emmy Awards, and I saw these guys just getting these awards and everything, and I don't know what I was going to do with my life, and my life was just in shambles and everything, and obviously because of my choosing. And all of a sudden, I just felt these things come off my eyes, and I saw this finger coming from heaven saying, well, not really, it wasn't a real finger.
Yeah, but it was that impactful.
It was that impactful, saying, that's what you've got to go and do. So I didn't know.
So what did you do? First thing,
First thing was I
how long did it
ran
take you to
up
get
and
out of the treatment facility?
It was 6 weeks there, 5 weeks there, and then I went to aftercare, which was another 5 months,
Yeah.
and it took a very long time to convince my father, listen, I want to go study drama. He said, because, I mean, geez, dude, you're already...
Look, you're
mad as a
already
hatter.
messing up.
You're already messing up. Now you want to go study
Now you
drama.
want to go be an actor.
You know, be an actor. And eventually he gave me that gap, and I don't think I was the most talented student. I don't think I was any good at physical theatre, you know, roll down and all that.
Yeah.
Being a tree and, you know, all of that stuff. And it was quite hard for me. I studied in Stellenbosch, and you, in the midst of all the wine fields and everybody just gayers and drinks and stuff, and I had to stay clean and go to my NA meetings and AA meetings during the week. And I just kind of persevered, and it was tough because you walk in there with no self-esteem, no self-worth.
Yeah.
You've got to find a new way of life, new way of living. And
Let's backtrack a bit and talk about how you ended up in a treatment facility. When did you start experimenting with drugs, and how did it escalate out of control?
At a young age, very young. We started sniffing thinners when we were 12, 13 years old, and you start becoming naughty. And
In class?
yeah, in class, and you start smoking dope and spliff, and you have fun with your mates. And people do that because it's exciting and it's wonderful and it's enjoyable. And
then before you knew it?
Yeah, before you knew it, so it escalated into pills, and then to LSD, and then crack cocaine, and then heroin eventually. So I mean, kind of took over. And for many years, you kind of take responsibility for that stuff, and you think, you know, you were so disastrous, and you're so not worthy, and you understand that you've got the illness of addiction. And then only years down the line, I've been in the process of recovery for the last 16 years now, with many relapses and fallbacks and stuff.
Sure. When was your last relapse?
No, it was 8 years ago. So I've been clean over 8 years again. By grace.
Wow. And I know people who've overcome an addiction say that they're still addicts. Is
You'll
that
always
reality?
be, yeah, because substance use disorder is an illness. It's got a biological component in your brain. They can now see with scans, they can actually scan your brain, and they can see that the frontal cortex of an addict's brain literally looks differently than somebody that doesn't have substance use disorder.
Oh, wow.
With the dopamine, your reward system, it physiologically looks different. So you kind of have that thing, and you every day have to do what you need to do to kind of live your life.
Yeah,
and,
every day is a success. Every day is a win.
Every day is a success. The obsession of using does leave you, and you start living a normal life.
Yeah.
But you constantly have to keep on working on yourself. You constantly have to have a good, healthy spiritual condition.
And you not only overcame it, you've gone on to thrive since then. You started a program called Hope in Action.
Yeah.
Briefly tell us about it.
Yeah, okay. So Hope in Action, you go to a site, www.hopeinaction.co.za, and it's just an educational medium that helps parents and everybody really understand what addiction and substance use disorder is all about, and also trying to educate people concerning destructive and dysfunctional behavior that kids kind of fall into, and that it's not always all their fault. There are various systems, family systems and dysfunctional systems and destructive communities where people come out of that kind of molds them into that stuff. And then we deal with things like human trafficking, a lot of human trafficking, eating disorders, bullying, and it's just an educational medium. I'm not the expert. I just get all the experts and I display their advice. And now I know lots of corporate companies are going to run to me, yes, because I've got an Article 18A, and we are setting up halfway houses and places for recovering addicts and human trafficking victims. And
awesome. You're going to tell us more about it, because you're not going anywhere. I'm not letting you go. After the break, Danilo makes us some sticky maple-glazed barbecue ribs, and we share some valuable tips to help you get your body ready for summer. Don't go away.
Whether it's your first apartment in the city, a trendy suburban townhouse, or that dream family home on a golf estate, there's a home for everyone on private property.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, in the kitchen today, I'm sure everybody at home is wanting to know when the weekend is going to come. We've got the perfect dish for you. If you always know what to put on the braai, the first thing that comes to my mind always is a succulent set of ribs with a delicious sauce. So Clement's going to be helping us make that today in the loft. And we're not going with any kind of rib. We're going with a beautiful pork belly rib.
We're just bringing two amazing cuts together. I mean, Mother Nature's done it for us already. We're just lucky enough to have this with us today.
And I'm glad it's you and I in the kitchen today, because most people would see the fat on a pork belly and be like, ew, we're going like, oh my gosh, that's the flavor right there. That is all the juiciness, and it's just...
And we'll talk about that more when we start working on the meat, but I mean, the fat really is your friend, but we'll get all about that in a second.
So where do we start?
The barbecue sauce. So we have amazing barbecue sauces on shelves, but I mean, it's also awesome to make your own.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is, there we go, heat on. I've already cooked the onions down. And I mentioned before, onions, when I do sauces, I want them down. Like, they've got to be dark
Completely,
brown.
yes. They're almost like, as you touch them, they must almost just dissolve.
And that's when you know they're sweet. They're not going to add that bitterness to your sauce.
Yes.
So the onions are there.
What did you do to them, by the way? You just put a whole bunch of an onion or two in there, and you've added with a bit of butter, olive oil, or
A little bit of olive oil, on a low heat, and just let it go.
reduced it.
And that actually took about 15, 20 minutes, that long.
Sure.
Let it go. But I mean, you have to do the thing. Put it in there, let it go. Next thing, the spices. And I'm using ground coriander, ground cumin, smoked chili, smoked paprika, and whole cumin seeds as well.
Yeah,
It adds
I have
another
all of
extra
that just
flavor.
sitting in my cupboard.
There we go.
Obviously.
I mean, it is that easy.
Yes, so easy, Clement.
Absolutely. So onions in there, spices in there. We're going to get the spices nice and toasted. We would need normally about a minute just to get that like nice and fragrant. You should
smells yummy.
smell.
Immediately.
You should smell, exactly. And then
that's
once
amazing.
it gets all fragrant, all delicious, in with some tomato paste.
Yes, which is going to give that richness to the whole dish.
There we go.
Because tomato pelati is almost, it's acidic almost. This, once it's reduced, is so rich, full of flavor.
Actually adds a bit of a meaty flavor of its own.
Yes, it does,
exactly.
yes.
So just to up that meaty flavor, we're going to add some Worcester sauce.
My favorite.
How's that
Ooh,
smelling?
there we go. That's
There
where
we
the
go.
barbecue flavor is coming
That's
from.
exactly. So just to control it, to make sure things don't burn, I've got water on the side, and that's just to make sure nothing gets stuck to the bottom
Yes.
of the pan. You don't want that to happen.
Cool.
So now
So
the
keep your eye on it.
last time I was here, we had vinegar in the pan, and we ended up clearing everyone's sinuses. Guess what? We're back today, and we're going to do exactly the same
and
thing.
chili. So vinegar and chili.
There we go. So the idea with the vinegar is barbecue sauces is a combination of two things, not just sweet.
Yes.
It's that level of acidity that you get from vinegar in there as well. Has to be a balance. There's nothing worse than biting into a rib and all you taste is sugar.
Yes, exactly.
What
I
is the
agree with
point?
you.
So
No,
totally.
I
So
agree with you.
vinegar in there, a little bit of the water, and
How do you sort of judge the consistency of this? Because I'm assuming the water's going to start evaporating as it goes, but how do you make sure that it doesn't become too thick or too loose?
well, you got to keep in mind that the belly is going to go in the oven, right?
Yes.
And while it's in the oven with the glaze on there, that's when it's going to become sticky.
Oh, I
So it's not
see.
important that it becomes sticky right here.
I
It
get
becomes
it.
sticky there. So keep it a little runnier than you would normally expect the glaze to be.
Okay, cool.
So we've got the vinegar in there, that's our acid, and now we're going to do a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of maple. And that looks about good.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I was
So now-
expecting a lot more sugar, so I'm very proud of you. Well done, Clem.
No, absolutely. I mean, you don't need to go above and beyond with all the ingredients. They all play a key role in the sauce. So little bits, it's fine. Keep on tasting as you go. You might want it to be a little sweeter, and then add more maple
Yeah.
syrup. I actually like a more vinegary-based sauce.
Okay, well, that's cool. That's fine. If you
So
like a
there you
little bit more of an acidity to it, then that's all cool. So how long does that cook on for? How does that reduce
5 minutes
for?
and then it should be good.
5 minutes,
Don't
then
forget,
it's
it
done.
shouldn't be a sticky sauce. It just be like a pancake batter. That's a good
Yes.
idea. Exactly. My favorite part. Let's talk about the pork. Let's
Okay,
talk about
let's
the
talk
pork.
about it.
Because I actually just need to. All
Take
the
a moment,
farmers out there, all the butchers, the bakers, not the candlestick makers, all the guys out there that make my job so easy. I mean, this is an amazing cut of meat. So, like I said, it's 2 cuts in one, right? So my hands look so clean. Don't worry
Yes,
about
they
it.
are.
They are our ribs we used to, right?
Yes.
And there's our belly. You see all
I
the layers
see.
of
So
fat
they've
that's on
added
there?
a whole bunch of layers to it.
Well, they didn't
It's just
add
a
it.
meatier
It's
rib.
just like that. Exactly,
Yes.
that's the cut. So if you don't mind raising your hands for me quickly, I just want to explain, right? So you get 2 cuts of ribs, right?
no
Your-
sweat
your-
marks there.
No,
Okay,
it's fine,
that's
it's fine.
fine.
You
Okay.
get your loin cut, right?
Yeah.
But today we're busy with the belly cut. So you
Oh,
can
I
imagine it's
see.
all that extra flavor that's on there. The fat, like we said, it's not to be scared about. It goes in the oven for quite a while.
Okay.
Renders all out.
And we'll show you how to do all of this later on in the show,
Absolutely.
right?
So sauce going, salt and pepper. This guy goes in the oven without any sauce, 2 hours, and we'll come back to you.
Done and dusted. Amazing.
That's it.
You guys can find all of those ingredients, recipes, etc. on our website, afternoonexpress.co.za. It'll show you all those step-by-step instructions because we get very excited in this kitchen. We do
So
things prior
excited.
to, just so we can show you the best parts. So make sure you guys go and find it on our website, afternoonexpress.co.za. It's a wealth of knowledge. So this thing you said is going to go into the oven at how hot?
I would do it at 180. 180 is fine. It's not too hot.
Okay.
Just keep an eye on it. If it does start to brown too much, take it down to 160.
Okay.
So, but it goes into the oven without any sauce.
All right.
Salt and pepper. That's all it
Fantastic.
does.
So we're doing a belly here in the kitchen, but if you're wanting to get rid of your belly, Bonnie's on standby.
Welcome to our Fresh Pack Natural Goodness series. Now, getting fit conjures up ideas of rigorous gym workouts, power walking, jogging, or running, but we don't have to embark on extreme exercise to achieve our goals. Today, we're looking at some alternatives, and there's bound to be one that suits your needs. Joining me in the loft is Rushda Musaji, who runs her own fitness studio for women. She's also known as Rushtush. Welcome, Rushda.
Hi, buddy.
So, for someone like me who has a very hectic schedule, and I'm not the greatest planner,
Okay.
what's the best way to get fit?
I would suggest that you seek a professional, okay, that can work out a program for you that's going to be short and effective. So you want to go for like 30 minutes of intense workout. Oh, thank you. Okay. So you want to go with a professional who's going to work out your training for you, and then jam-pack what you can do over 2 hours into short 45-minute sessions. Obviously working at your fitness level and your skill.
And quite effectively, like a comprehensive...
Yes.
And what can I do at home to keep up my fitness levels?
At home, that's a very good question because I have lots of women who ask me this all the time. And a lot of women who can't get to the gym. So I've designed this body weight series where you use your own body weight because that is also resistance. So when you're doing a push-up on the floor, you're pushing your body weight away from the ground. At the same time, you're toning your arms, you're working your stomach, you're toning your legs, all while doing a push-up. The issue is a lot of women don't have any structure. So with the body weight series, I've worked out a program going forward, meaning you'll start with beginners, move on to intermediate, and then advanced. And the nice thing about the body weight series is that you use your own body weight. So you're not lifting weights in incorrect form. And that's the issue when you don't have somebody watching over you. So you want to be able to make sure that, you want to know that you're doing the exercises correctly. And with body weights, you can get, tone your muscles and work your cardiovascular system at the same time.
That's great. I mean, what are the ingredients of a great workout regime?
Okay, so I would start off with a warm-up because a warm-up is essential to get your joints moving, especially a lot of people who are working, which we all do. When you wake up early in the morning, your body is still asleep. So you can't go from having cold limbs and cold joints to jumping around. I mean, I've seen guys, they walk into the gym and they just start benching, you know? You're going to end up injuring yourself. So you've got to warm up the body first. I will go for 5 minutes to 10 minutes of a warm-up, depending on whatever you want. If you're working at home, I would say skipping rope, so skip. Which is effective.
That's a great idea.
I would incorporate skipping into a short workout that's very intense. So you can do things like intervals, you know? So I'll do a little bit of a warm-up, and then I'll focus on the big muscle groups first, especially for females, which we're focusing on because that's what I focus on. Sorry guys, but women first. You want to hit the legs, the glutes, because those are your biggest muscle groups. So you want to hit the biggest muscle groups because they're going to expend the most amount of energy. And then you also want to work on your upper body, which is obviously important for women because we don't want to have flabby arms. We want to have good posture. We want to have like nice lines in the arms, you know. So you want to work upper body as well, and then you want to have a little bit of a bicep. And you can achieve that by training the whole body. So you want to go big muscle group, medium muscle group, and then touch on the core. So every exercise that you do, you want to incorporate like a functional movement. So you're using your stomach with every movement. And that's when I mentioned with a push-up, you're actually using your core. You know, you've seen those guys do those clap push-ups. You know, that's very core orientated.
I see.
But we can't get there if we don't start at the beginning.
Many people don't understand how important hydration is when exercising. Please expand on that.
Yes, so when you're exercising, you're sweating lots. A lot of people like to have caffeine. So yes, caffeine is good, but there are other alternatives. So my favorite thing is, look, if you don't want to have warm tea, you can always have cold tea. So everything is about preparation. So you can just chuck your rooibos tea bag in your little gym, what is
squeezer,
it?
Yeah,
squeezer. Add some fresh cucumber, you know, mix it up a bit, some fresh lemon, and then you're good to go to be hydrated. And the thing with the rooibos tea is that it also helps with your digestion. And I find that a lot of women suffer from constipation, especially when they're on a high-protein diet. So rooibos tea will help with the stomach discomfort that some women might experience.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for helping us get bikini ready. No matter who you speak to, everyone extols the virtues of fresh pack rooibos. So whether you drink it hot or as a cool refreshment on a warm sunny day, you're sure to reap the benefits of its antioxidants and minerals. So until next week, keep well with the natural goodness of fresh pack.
Fresh pack. Goodness comes naturally.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, hailing from East London, he's been producing music for more than 10 years, and his first EP, Dance is Culture, was released in 2007. He's best known for his 2014 song, City Rains, which has become one of the most popular tunes in the country. Behind the scenes, though, he has triumphed against all odds, and his career was almost derailed due to alcohol and drug addiction. Joining us on the couch is tribal soul producer Mobi Dixon. Now, Mobi, it's an honor to have you with us on the Loft today. And first of all, can I say thank you for coming to share the story with us, because I think it is something difficult to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of people, don't really want to come out in public and say these things, But I thought, let me come out so I can inspire the youth, so I can inspire other people to not to make the same mistakes I did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool to hear. I know a lot of people on social media have been sharing their stories, so thank you so much to South Africans who have been sharing those with us right on Afternoon Express. But before we get into the drug and alcohol addiction, let's first talk about your career. When did you decide that actually producing music was what you wanted to do? Because it seems to be that now the trend is everyone's a producer.
Yeah, man, everyone's a producer. Everyone wants to become a DJ, But for me, it goes way back to primary school, when I started writing poetry, I started writing songs. I wrote and arranged my first song in Standard 4. Then I taught myself how to make beats, from Standard 6. So by the end of matric, I had already had songs, that were circulating in the community, and all from just teaching myself. And then from there is when I decided, I want to take this on as a profession, And in 2007, I went and studied sound engineering, and that's when I started releasing professionally.
And you met some cool people in the industry along the way who kind of supported you to the point where you are today. What are some of those experiences like?
Yeah, I think, I was very fortunate, to meet guys like DJ Fresh, while I was still in matric, who, gave me some great advice to go and study first. That's when I went to study IT. And then later, guys like Oskido, Greg Maluka, Vinita Vinci, Christos. I think one of my greatest inspirations is Oskido, who's assisted me with a lot of things along the way.
How was your growing up, by the way?
I had a very pleasant childhood. I was very fortunate to have all the things I need. Great education, I've come from a very strong family background, who have strong values and, who've tried to instill, a great man in society.
And it all kind of started to derail itself towards the end of that. And it didn't happen in a sudden moment. I think it all happens quite naturally for a lot of young people, because being a producer as well, you're experimenting. You're trying to figure out what's cool and what isn't cool. And you hang out with different types of people. You leave high school, you go and study. You get involved in circles that you might not want to get involved in. How did you get started with drugs and alcohol? Did it start with alcohol, then drugs, a combination of the two?
Yeah, I think naturally, all people tend to, experiment with alcohol because it's the most freely available, legal substance there is, which is actually one of the most dangerous. But with me, I think the addiction, started to come out when I started experimenting with marijuana, in high school. And I think it started small. It started as a casual thing, and you don't realize at the time how dangerous this substance is, and generally in society it's taken lightly, marijuana, whatever, weed,
Yes, it's natural, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah, whatever.
Non-addictive.
Yeah. But you don't realize that even though it's not physically addictive, the psychological addiction that you can have to it, and the amount of damage it does to your brain, So I was lucky to be able to come out of that, after years of struggling. After I went to rehab twice, I relapsed twice, and then I finally got help, in I think it was 2012, 2011.
So it's been 4 years now since you've been clean, and I think that first year is always the hardest that you come out of it. But before we get into this rehab story, did you experiment with other drugs outside of marijuana? Did marijuana start and then it moved on to other things?
Yes, because you always want to get a bigger high, and then it moved on to cocaine, ecstasy. But my drug of choice was marijuana,
And why did you decide that you actually now wanted help? Because very often it can be quite a scary decision to make that choice. Were there other people that pushed you towards getting professional help?
Obviously, your loved ones, will always push you. You need to get help. You need to, clean up your life. But I think that the decision had to be a conscious decision, from myself. As soon as I found my purpose in life, as soon as I knew what I wanted to do, And on top of that, it was a big scare of psychosis. I was admitted to hospital. I was in hospital for a month. due to psychosis because of marijuana. So until I found that purpose, that I knew that this is what I wanted to do in life, and I want to clean up, I want to leave this behind. That's when I came up with my plan for Tribal Soul, and that helped me get out of the addiction.
Sure, I think that's a message a lot of the youth need to hear, because you get involved in circles to try and fit into something and find a purpose within your friendship circles, within your what you study, etc. You decided, actually, I've got a much bigger purpose in terms of my career and my lifestyle that I want to live in the future. So what is that message to young people who maybe are experimenting with drugs or with alcohol now, who don't realize that how fast it can escalate to the point where you have to end up in rehab?
I think nowadays, kids are exposed to information. I think if you are being told, by your parents, by your school, that this is wrong, and you don't believe them, go on the internet and look up. What does this stuff actually do to your brain? What does it do to your system? And you'll be shocked. You'll be scared. I mean, that was a big shocker for me.
Yeah. Well, Moby, it's an honor to have you with us on the couch, and we'll be sharing more of your short story later on, so don't go anywhere. I'd really like to unpack more of that sort of message, because the whole idea here, I think, South Africa, is about making sure that you find a purpose in your life, and once you found that purpose, all these other things almost become superfluous. You try and find ways to make sure you achieve your end goal. Like I said, we will continue the conversation a bit later on, but for now, the SA Guide Dog Association breeds and trains their own specialist guide dogs until they are ready to be passed on to their owner. I recently caught up with a lady named Cheryl Robertson to understand what it takes to be a guide dog and a trainer. The SA Guide Dogs Association breeds and trains specialist working dogs who provide support for persons who have visual and physical disabilities, as well as children with autism. These clever canines change lives every day. You've been with the Guide Dogs Association for almost 22 years. You must have seen lots of animals come through. How many do you train a year?
We train about 30 to 40 dogs a year, and that includes guide dogs, service dogs, and autism support dogs.
Fagan here looks like a golden retriever. Are there specific breeds that you train?
We train mainly Labradors and then golden retrievers, which is what Fagan is, and then we cross the Labrador and the golden retriever, and we also train German Shepherds.
Guide dogs have to go through quite a process to make sure that the blind person is kept safe. What sort of tricks and commands do you teach the dogs?
They're taught to walk in a straight line, so from one point to the next point. They're taught to stop at the road crossings. They're taught to walk around obstacles. If the blind person comes to a set of stairs that they know in the environment, the dog will indicate where the stairs are by stopping with their front feet on the first step. They can go up escalators, in lifts. They're taught to find doors or specific shops that the blind person wants. So they're taught quite a few things that they need to learn in their day-to-day running.
It's quite a responsibility to make sure these dogs are trained correctly, because it can be very dangerous out in the world for blind people. What are some of the challenges that you face in terms of training these dogs?
The main challenges with training the dogs is to teach them to avoid distractions, so they're not allowed to go and say hello to other dogs or eat food on the pavements. The main challenge with the blind person is teaching them to trust the dog initially, but they learn it very quickly. And the challenges that we have training both the dog and the blind person, especially for the blind person later on, is access problems. So getting the dogs into public buildings, into food places, restaurants, where they are allowed to go, but a lot of people deny the dog because it's a dog.
I'm sure each dog must have its own way, but how do you know when a dog is ready to be given to its owner?
The dogs go through stages, so each stage is tested, but before we match them to a blind person, each trainer will walk their dog under blindfold. So Fagan here is ready to be trained with a blind person. So we have a blindfold for you, so would you like to try and be the test for him?
Fagan, are you ready to go for a walk? Hey, let's do it. So we've taken our step outside and I've put this blindfold on. I literally can't see anything. And apparently Fagan's going to take me through a couple of obstacles. I'm pretty nervous. How do we get him to start?
Right, to get him to go, so you tell him to stay and you put your right foot back half a pace behind you and then swing your right hand forward like you're throwing a ball underhand. At the same time, you're going to say forward. When he walks, then you walk.
Fagan, forward.
Good, there you go. Good, good, well done. Relax your body. There you go. Relax your right hand and let it swing normally. There you go. Okay, good boy, Fagan. So the blind person will speak to them to keep their concentration going.
You're going well, boy. Keep going.
Boy, he's going to come a bit. He's going to go a bit to the right. Good boy. There you go. You're going past the tree now. You can tell him straight on.
Straight on, Fagin.
Good.
Straight on, boy. Well done.
Good. There you go. Takes you past
Well
the
done,
post
boy.
box.
The entire process of training a guide dog can take 18 months to 2 years before the dog is ready to be paired with a visually impaired owner. The training is always enjoyable for the dog, and the handler communicates to the dog through a combination of verbal cues, hand signals, and foot positions. Obstacle work is of great importance, as the dog must allow enough space for itself and the person who it is guiding. For traffic work, the visually impaired person will make a judgment call to cross the road by listening to the traffic flow. The dog does not make any decision, but should override the person's decision if a car was not heard by the person. Traffic work training heightens the dog's awareness of moving vehicles.
Good.
Well done. Oh, Mike, are we safe?
Yes.
I don't want to say it, but that was really eye-opening, scary. The whole world feels like it's coming in on you. You don't really know what's going on. You just have to trust implicitly the dog knows what it's doing.
You have to trust the dog, remain calm, and trust your instincts.
Fagin, I'm so proud of you, boy. Well done, Fagin. Well done, boy. Here we go.
Oh, sweet. Those dogs are amazing. Today we are giving away another hamper to the value of 500 Rand, courtesy of Bob Martin. All you have to do is SMS the keyword Bob Martin, your name and city to 33728. SMSs cost R1.50 each. T's and C's apply and can be found on our website, afternoonexpress.co.za. After the break, we're back on the couch with Hykie Berg and Mobi Dixon, and we're joined by a clinical psychologist to take a deeper look at the misconceptions of drug addiction and what to look out for in someone who may have an addiction problem. We'll be right back.
Show them how much you love them with Bob Martin.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, there are many misconceptions about drug addiction. Some people believe that not only those without morals or lacking in willpower can become addicted, but it can happen to anyone at any time. We're back on the couch with Hykie Berg and Mobi Dixon, and we're joined by clinical psychologist Nick Hazel to chat about the psychological aspects of drug addiction and what to look out for. Welcome.
Thank you. Right.
Firstly, how can you tell when you are classified as being addicted to drugs, or a drug addict?
There are a couple of classification systems that we use, and I'll talk about one of them, which is one of the main ones, the DSM-5, which is used for classifying mental disorders or psychiatric disorders in general. Substance use disorders being one of them, and note that they don't use the word addiction because it's problematic. There have been disagreements about what that means. For example, if you're an addict, you have to be physically dependent on a drug. And I think Moby mentioned that that's not necessarily the case. In fact, most people aren't. So there are 11 criteria that the DSM use, which includes things like withdrawal, increased tolerance, using more than you intend to, using despite bad consequences, etc., impacting on your social functioning, on your work functioning, etc. You only need to meet 2 of those criteria to be classified as having a substance use disorder. I think that those 11 criteria can basically all fall under a loss of control. So you plan to have 2 and you end up having 5 or 10. You plan to get home at 10 o'clock, but you get home at 10 o'clock the next morning. Compulsive use, you can't say no, one is never enough. And then, of course, also continuing to use despite negative consequences. You lose your job, you damage your relationships, you crash the car, get into fights, but you keep using.
What about those people who say stuff like, oh, I've been using drugs now for 20 years and I'm fine, and I only do it on the weekend. In fact, I do it socially. Is that delusional?
It can be. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there are people that manage to use substances recreationally, alcohol being the most obvious one. And, provided they don't meet those criteria, it might be fine for them to use drugs socially or recreationally. Difficulty being is often the individual doesn't recognize when things have become problematic, and it's usually the people around them that notice first.
Yeah. I think when a lot of people hear the word like a drug addict, they picture some strung out drug addict, going on withdrawals. It looks like but actually it's normal people around us that could be our friends, and, I think that's the danger in it. But drug addiction necessarily have to be somebody who's doing drugs every single day, or could a drug addict be a social user?
No, often people, I mean, like you say, often we're shocked to find out that somebody overdosed. It happens all the time, and often people in sort of high-profile positions. And so, yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to say. But again, if you meet those criteria, then
you only have to meet 2, you said.
You only have to meet 2. Yeah.
How many of those
Moby,
did you guys meet?
Yeah, I think one thing, there's a very well-known saying in the rooms of AA and Narcotics Anonymous. They say if you're a drunken horse thief and you take the alcohol away, you're still a horse thief. So you might as well just drink. I mean, what's the difference? So I think when we speak about recreational users or people that just use over weekends and stuff, you don't have to use every single day to have the disease of alcoholism or substance use disorder. It's more the behavior and the thought patterns and compulsive thought as well, which classifies you as almost as an addict. You know, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob who actually established the 12-step program. On Bill Wilson's deathbed, they asked him if there were 2 things that you could change in the 12-step program, what would it be? He said the one was in step 1 where we admitted we're powerless over alcohol and our lives had become unmanageable. He wanted to change the word alcohol to alcoholism, because it's the ism, it's the disease that we're powerful over, the compulsive behavior. It's not the physical, the actual alcohol. Yeah. And then there's in the chapter 5 in the Blue Book, in the book of that they wrote, it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who fail are those who cannot or will not be completely honest with themselves. There are those unfortunate. He wanted to say never have we seen a person fail, because you can actually come clean. But because addicts and alcoholics are so stubborn, they would have said, oh, geez, okay, he says never, I'll show them it doesn't work. Yeah. So already in that...
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, it also depends on the drug that you use and the what you feel. I mean, alcohol, yes, people drink and stuff. It's, you know, take a whole bag of cocaine and just snuff it up with one go, and then have a packet of Thai white heroin and chase it afterwards, and then see how you feel. And obviously you're going to go, geez, you just want, that's freaking rocking. And it also depends on the drugs and how quickly you get hooked and addicted, and before you know it, you see something like cocaine, for example, you might use it today and not use it 9 months down the line. You're not going to go and buy a gram or 2 grams the next day, or 10 grams and snuff it up by yourself. But the next day it presents itself, or the next time it presents itself, you will probably take it again. Sure. And the next time it presents itself again somewhere, you're probably going to take it again, because there aren't consequences. You don't think you're an addict because you haven't used it for so long. And those periods, over a long period of time, become shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And that's usually then what happens. Many people use it and then they just stop as well. I mean, that's just... But I'm not that okay.
It's sometimes useful to think of it in terms of not so much how much you use, but what happens when you do use. And as Hykie's saying, I mean, some people have a sort of binge pattern. Other people are more sort of daily or habitual pattern. But what is it? What do you like when you use? What does it do to you? How does it impact on your life?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, thank you, guys.
I'll be so interested to take calls today. Please give us a call, 083-913-3728. And, of course, comment on our Facebook page, Afternoon Express. And, of course, our Twitter, which is Afternoon Chat, using the official hashtag Afternoon Express.
Yes, let's head back to the kitchen, see what's up with those sticky ribs.
Indeed. The conversation will continue later in South Africa, so make sure you stay tuned. Today in the kitchen, Clement and myself are making something so delicious. Everyone loves them. It's the finger food that gets your fingers going.
Absolutely. So let me get them out of the oven quickly.
Are they done?
Almost.
Well, why take them out if they're not done?
Because, and I'll explain to you.
There's a reason for your madness.
There's a reason for everything.
I'm wondering, because sometimes you try to make flambe and then it doesn't work, so I'm wondering whether this is just a mistake.
Well, one day we'll get the flambe right. So this is one that I started cooking earlier. Yes. So, if you have good quality pork, it doesn't shrink that much, right? But what you will see is that some of the fat has rendered out, so you don't have that thick layer of fat.
Yes.
So what I started doing, I started glazing. And I don't just dump it and leave it, I do it in stages. That way you build that sticky layer on there.
How many minutes in between each glaze? You go like every couple of minutes? Or?
So once the rib is cooked completely right through, I turn the oven up to 200. So that way it's done cooking. Now you're just going to glaze. Yes. So I do 3 layers. Every 10 minutes, another layer. Absolutely so this is the second layer on. This is the last layer.
Okay, and this was the sauce we made earlier on, which is so delicious. All the spices you put inside of it, there's a bit of maple syrup thrown in there.
Absolutely.
Oh, it is delicious. It's like your sticky barbecue flavor.
It's good on absolutely everything.
Yes.
Absolutely. So last, you know what? Actually, I'm saying 3, but if you want more sauce on there,
go for it, do.
Go crazy. And make sure you serve some of the sauce on the side as well.
Yes. And it's cooked already prior to, so you don't have to worry about having touched the pork beforehand, so you don't have to cook it up. It's already done and dusted for you. You can just dip your rib in there. you want to just dip the bone in and just lick the sauce out afterwards.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do that.
So another tip is, like, if you're going to do this in the oven,
Yes.
I would cook the ribs completely done in the oven, take it out to the braai afterwards. I wouldn't necessarily cook them from scratch right on the braai.
Yes.
I mean, at least you're going to monitor your coals. That's perfectly fine. Otherwise, do the cooking part of the ribs in the oven,
Yes.
finish them off on the braai with the
To
glaze.
get a nice crispy on the outside. And I also think doing it in the oven helps get that meat to just fall off the bone. If you do it in the braai itself,
Absolutely.
it'll just cook it nice and hard, but it won't be as, like, tender as
Unless
as
you've
it
got
would
like
in
some
the oven.
amazing skills there and you know how to regulate that heat and let it go for 4 hours.
Well, some people know how to be real men and do that thing on the braai.
There we
Well,
go, there we go. I just look at the meat and it cooks itself.
Oh, all right. Take that back to the oven. Don't forget to go to our website, afternoonexpress.co.za, to find this recipe and the shopping list available for you. All the step-by-step instructions are there for you, right, courtesy of Afternoon Express. Now, you're serving this with just a slaw, right?
Absolutely, but you can say whatever what you want. I mean, soft spongy rolls as well, because I mean that meat's pulled pork. It's almost like pulled pork, actually.
Yes.
Slap them on a bun. You're so good to go. A salad. You want to be a little healthy. Give it salad.
Lekker. Well, we're going to dish this up and get this ready while you guys take a short commercial break. And when we come back, we continue the discussion of overcoming drug and alcohol abuse. Don't go anywhere.
Give kids the gift of hearing this Christmas. Are you with us?
Salati Plantation Select adds subtle sweetness to toffees, caramel, bran muffins, or sprinkled into a spicy curry. Salati, always good, always sweet.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. We're in the loft with actor Hykie Berg, producer Mobi Dixon, and clinical psychologist Nick Hazel. Today's discussion is around drug addiction, and we've learned so much so far already. But how prevalent is drug addiction in South Africa?
It's very prevalent. There's about a 13% prevalence rate of substance use disorders, which includes alcohol and other substances. So that's very high. It's difficult to compare statistics directly with the rest of the world because different methods we use to obtain those data, but it's high. It's very high.
And why? Sorry. Why is it so high?
Off the top of my head, probably because of socioeconomic factors, poverty, widespread poverty.
Yeah.
Recreational. It becomes a recreational thing to do that you have in the communities as well.
It's a recreational
If you
thing,
don't
it's a
have money, why are
coping
you going to buy
mechanism.
drugs?
Yeah, but also I just want to say
A lot
one
of
thing. I
wealthy
just want to say
people take drugs
most
as
of the
well.
people we used
Wealthy
with
people take
weren't,
drugs.
yes, exactly. They weren't just poor people. They were some of the richest and middle class people. They come out and they've got their bikes and they do their thing and everything. And
Which leads me to my next question. Have you maybe classified a disposition or a characteristic in one that's most likely to get addicted to drugs?
It's very difficult to predict who is going to become addicted. Ballpark, one might say that about 10% of the population who use will become addicted. As we've mentioned, there are certain groups that might be more at risk. Hykie was mentioning earlier that there's a biological component, there's a genetic component. We know being in sort of family cultures where there's a lot of using might predispose people, but then is it genetics or is it the family culture? How do you tease the two apart?
But something I had to ask both of you, though, because I've heard a lot come up when it becomes a friendship circle thing. A whole group of friends will start together and play around together and have fun together. How do you, as a youngster, start to say no to your friends, especially if they are your friends? And they're the ones that are kind of, doing this with you.
Well, I think peer pressure is one of the biggest challenges, which is when the gap opens up for the addiction to come in. Once you taste it through casual peer pressure situations where it's just about having fun, and then it opens up that thing. And then late in life, when you're struggling through things of life, you just use it as a crutch, to kind of like deal through life. That's how it was for me. When I struggled, to get a job, when I struggled in my career, it was something to lean back on as a crutch to deal.
And are there drugs that one cannot recover from? Like once you're addicted to them, you just can't recover.
Yeah, like do it once and then you're addicted.
And then you're done.
Generally speaking, there's a lot of evidence to support that once you're addicted to anything, there's no turning back. There are those that do manage, but the risk is so high that I would say rather not take that risk. Too many people, it's easy to relapse, it's not necessarily easy to get back into recovery. And with consequences like death, do you want to take that risk when you can actually lead a fulfilling life without?
I just want to say one thing about peer pressure. Everybody thinks you have peer pressure. There are these people that go, okay, snuff, and put it on and you know, that's not peer pressure. Peer pressure happens on a very subconscious level. And we deal with kids and guys, and you know, you ask the child, why did he take that first line? And most people don't even know why. Most kids don't even know why they take it. They'll sit in a group of people and somebody will drink a beer and a cigarette will come past or a joint, and next thing you sit here with him and he doesn't know, friends are just looking at him and smiling, having fun, he'll just go take a drag. And the problem what we have today, we don't have a human trafficking problem, we don't have a drug problem, we don't have a prostitution problem, we have a community problem. And that starts at home with parents that don't have relationships with their kids. Because they go home and they want to speak to somebody and they want to chat to somebody, but they can't flip and speak to their father because they gaan hom flip en moeder sy kop met 'n knippel, and you know, and there's this judgment on it and all the shame and everything. So it's that kind of communication.
Conversations, make sure it happens at home too, I think is a very important one.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you so much to all of our guests.
But we do have all eating disorders, so we're going to have time to this.
It's all yours. And don't forget...
And the conversation is carrying on online.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Good night. Happy eating.
Bye. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You've been eyeing out those ribs.
Coming up tomorrow on Afternoon Express, we chat to the granddaughter of iconic artist Vladimir Trechikov. Style photographer Trevor Stuurman joins us in the loft, and we get under the skin with surfing champion Roxy Davis.
Another feel-good production.
Hello YouTubers, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel because we've got full episodes available for you. All those really cool interviews we've done, all the cool performances are right over there for you. So all you have to do is click subscribe. It's somewhere over here on this side of my face. Click it right now. Do it.